Hey y'all, I don't know if anybody's here because when you do a YouTube live, you can't really see the chat. So I'm not really sure if anybody's on. So I'm kind of going to stall for just a minute. My name is Lucy, and I've been writing a blog called paperglitterglue.com. You probably know, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But what I love to make are little houses or really any kind of 3D paper crafts. That's what really appeals to me. And um, I started. Wait, my brother's going to have to mute something. Can you mute it or put earbuds in? Sorry about that. We're new at this YouTube Live thing. So I started, one of my friends told me about this show called Escape to the Chateau. And it was all about renovating this castle. I love renovation stuff, and the castle was just magical. And I got obsessed with castles, and so I started collecting pictures of castles, and I decided I had to make some. So I've been working on one. This is based on the Escape to the Chateau show. This like prototype. This is actually prototype number 2. This is prototype number 3. I don't have the pattern yet. I will have the pattern for you in probably a couple of days. There's pattern 3. And I tried to get this done today, but this is prototype number 3. So this is a little more like what it's going to look like. The challenge is learning to make turrets, how to roll up the paper to make a really good looking round turret. So that's one of the challenges I'm working on by just kind of experimenting with things. But I thought on this introduction I'd show you a little bit about how I get started making a castle or any kind of building really. Let me show you, first I'm going to show you a couple of other patterns I've made that I think can be easily converted into a castle. This is called the Front Tower Clock House. I mean, it's got a castle feel to it, and I think if you put towers on each side, it would make a really good castle. I'm going to set this aside. And then the only castle I've ever really made was a funny little Halloween castle. This is Vlad's castle with the little drawbridge out front. And that one is in my 13 Halloween Houses book, but it's also in a series that's free on my blog. It's called Vlad's Castle. And then this one, I know, I've got an idea for converting this one, excuse me. This one is Stone Clock House, and I'm going to turn it into a castle, and I'll show you. We'll do that later during the Make a Castle series. But like I said, tonight I wanted to to show you how I start off making buildings. So I'm kind of going to start from the bottom up. I'm going to switch my camera and show you my tools and supplies. Okay, I'm switching to the overhead camera. I'm moving my computer out of the way. All right. So this is my cutting mats. I actually use 2 different sets of cutting mats. This one is what's called a self-healing mat, and I know you're familiar with it, but that's what I use for making the main cuts with when I use particularly my craft knife. But this one is actually my favorite. This is a glass cutting mat, and I use it to decorate. Like when I'm making the stencil surface, I tape the paper down or the cardboard down, and then I stencil on this. And the nice thing is the glass mat washes off so easily. So I love my glass mat. This one is by Tonic. It's a Tim Holtz design, and I just love it. Okay, I'm going to put that back now. So that's kind of the base. The other thing is you need a steel ruler. You need a ruler with a steel edge, because when you're using your cutting materials, got to rearrange just a moment. Keep dropping my cutting materials. Let me find my craft knife. Oh, here's my craft knife. When you're using a craft knife, if you have a wooden ruler, you'll cut into it. So you have to have a steel ruler. And then I have lately I've been using my Cricut to cut out all my patterns, so I haven't had to use craft knife very much. Sometimes something doesn't cut all the way through, or it's not scored properly, and I flip the knife onto the back and I'll rescore it, but I don't use it very much. But I'm experimenting with some really fancy blades from X-Acto. They're called Z blades, and they're supposed to last a lot longer. My friends who cut things by hand, particularly Howard Lamy of the, he posts on the Cardboard Christmas forum. He changes his blade with every single project he makes, and that's how he makes such precise cuts. But I'm wondering if these new blades will make a difference. So these are the regular X-Acto blades, and these are kind of the fancy ones. So I'm going to play around with them in our next episode when we talk about cutting things by hand. So I think even if you have a cutting machine, a craft knife and blades and a steel ruler are very useful. So other things that help you cut, I use hole punches. This is kind of a square hole punch, circular hole punch. You can make all sorts of designs, and again, I'll show you some of those tomorrow. Trusty scissors, gotta have scissors. I like small scissors for making more precise cuts. And let's see, I think that's it for cutting materials. Oh, no, let me get one that I dropped. You can get some relatively inexpensive scissors with a decorative edge. This is the only pair of mine that I could find. But and they work very well for cutting cardstock, but they're not that great for cutting cardboard. They're really kind of fragile. They're plastic scissors, so I don't think they last very long. But for cardstock, it helps you make like a decorative edge much easier. All right, so then the other things are, let's talk about glue. I am lately obsessed with this glue, Bearly Art Glue. It works beautifully for lightweight cardboard and cardstock. And I bought a kit that includes all of this. It includes the big refill bottle, the regular bottle, see the pin in place, and then it's got some special tips. Let me see, I'm going to pull this up, see if you can see. Kind of like a needle tip. It's almost like a hypodermic needle that's been cut off, so you can apply things precisely. And this is a narrower tip than the one I've been using. So I love this stuff. So that is Bearly Art Glue for lighter materials. But when you're making houses, especially if you're making cardboard houses, you need a stronger glue. And so I use glues more in this family. They're tacky glues from the family of tacky glues. Turbo, Quick Dry, Fast Grab. This is probably the thickest, and it's actually hard to get out of the bottle, so you really have to squeeze hard. Right, let me see. I'll put them in upside down. It's upside down to me. It's right side up to you. Okay, this one is a good one, and I like it when it comes with this top. So even if you don't have this top and you buy one with it, save the top because it works with the others. So it's so nice. So you can store it upside down, and the glue is not so hard to get out. But these, for strong stuff like gluing on roofs, or if I've got curved roofs, things that are hard to get to stick, I use glue in this family. And then the other glue that I like is called Glossy Accents. It is a Ranger product, and what I like about it is it dries clear, but and dries very fast, and I use it mostly for decorative things. I'll show you on the clock house. I wanted it to look like there was a glass surface on the clock, so I added, made a little pool of glossy accents there, and you can probably see that I use recycled plastic for the back of the windows, but I also wanted, especially this Halloween house, I wanted them to look a little creepy, so I added some glossy accents to make them translucent, to make the windows translucent, so you don't see like completely through the house. And so those are my main glues that I use. Oh, you may ask about hot glue. I don't usually use hot glue because it dries so fast you don't have much margin of error for for moving your pieces around. Say you don't have them aligned correctly, and they'll just stick together. So I don't use hot glue for the actual construction, but sometimes I do use it, and especially I learned this from my friend Rhonda, who writes A Christmas Notebook. When she makes a turret or a steeple top, they can be kind of fragile and lose their shape. So she actually fills them with some hot glue so that won't happen. The other thing is, if you want to add like a flag or something to your tower, hot glue is perfect for that, because you don't have to wait for it to dry, and it'll hold your flag in place right away and hold it securely. So that's one way I use hot glue. The other way is, where are my bases? I think you can see this corrugated cardboard. When I make the bases for my house, I usually glue about 3 or 4 layers of corrugated cardboard together, and I use hot glue to do that. And then I wrap them in brown paper or something, newspaper, and then paint over it. And I apply the newspaper, which is regular glue. So it's very secure, and it makes a great base. I think those are the main things for gluing. Oh, how about holding your house together? As you can see on my prototype, I use a lot of painter's tape. My brother, who was a cabinet maker, would have been appalled at all the painter's tape I use on my papercraft projects. But it holds it together while the glue dries, and it holds it in good shape. But sometimes you need other things to help you. So I use a lot of binder clips. I actually like the little binder clips. So you can glue the side together, and that just reinforces it better. And you can use clothespins or even a bobby pin. If you have like a narrow space and you really want to hold it for a long way, a bobby pin works really well also. So those for holding your structures together while you construct your little houses. And now I want to talk about probably the thing I get asked about most often, which is what materials to use. Okay, so we're going to make a little castle. I've got a bunch of materials here. So for me, the most common thing that I use is cardboard. I like my house. I put a lot into my little houses, and I want them to last for a while. So let me knock on them. You can hear that this is very sturdy. And this is really just cardboard. It's just like one layer of cardboard that's been stenciled. The shingles on top are 2 layers. But anyway, it's very sturdy, and it's going to last for a long time. I hope whoever gets it will like it and want it to last. So for the most part, I use 30-point cardboard. Amazon calls it medium chipboard. I don't really think it counts as chipboard. It seems more flexible than that, but that's what they call it. And it is easy to cut and makes a sturdy little house. So that's my main material. Now, other types, this is 30-point. This is a thinner version. This is probably more like cereal box cardboard. This is 22-point, and it's just more flexible. And then I don't have any examples of what would be 50-point cardboard, which I think is much more like chipboard. But I think if you get like an art pad, that's close to 50-point. It is the thickness of a U.S. penny, so it's pretty thick and very sturdy, but much harder to cut. So that's why I've kind of settled on the medium one, 30-point cardboard. Could you use corrugated cardboard for making your little houses? Yes, you can, but I don't, because it doesn't fold well. You can see it doesn't make a very good crease, and you would have to glue each side together if it didn't fold well. But I think it works beautifully for bases, so that's what I save the corrugated cardboard. And occasionally, let me see, occasionally I'll use it for like some fences or something. There is another kind of corrugated cardboard that I really like. This is single face corrugated cardboard, and it comes. You can peel off some regular cardboard so that it's single face, but it's really kind of hard to do. But you can buy it in packing stores or office supply stores. And what I'm going to use it for on my castle is I'm going to use these as stairs, so I don't have to do little funky folded stairs. And that is what they used on the vintage Japanese houses, with some corrugated cardboard for stairs. And also you can use it for trim. So you can see at the top of a tower, find a tower, it would make a very good trim. So it's a useful material to have. And I'll show you a trick to cut it. If you cut it, remove all my papers, although I want to show you cardstock next. If you cut it using your knife, where is the knife? Here is the knife. If you use it and you cut this way, a lot of times it kind of squishes it. So especially if you're doing like an intricate design, like a house design or something, so you can put two layers together so they kind of protect each other, and then you can cut it that way. And you don't end up squishing the single face corrugated cardboard. Now, what I haven't mentioned yet in terms of materials is cardstock. Many people love to use cardstock for their houses. And I don't usually do, I mean, I do for some things, but usually just very smaller houses. But it works. I mean, you can see, like my prototype is made out of cardstock. In fact, I think this is 65-pound cardstock. Cardstock weight, the common weights are 65-pound and 110. Okay, I'm going to show you the difference and how you can almost always tell. Sometimes it'll fool you, but okay. This is 65-pound cardstock, and you sort of hear how flexible it is, and you can see how flexible it is. That's 65. This is 110, and it even makes a different sound when you flick it. Now, sometimes I get confused, but I can usually tell the difference between 65 and 110. So if I was going to make a castle with cardstock, I would use the 110 cardstock for the main structure, but I think you need 65-pound cardstock for the round towers and for things that have to bend a lot. So I'm going to use 65, even on my cardboard house, I'm going to use 65-pound cardstock for the turrets. Just because I can't seem to get this stuff to bend well enough. Okay, now, next I'm going to cover a few details about decorative things. Like I said, I like to use cardboard, so I like to paint mine. And for that, I usually use Tim Holtz Distress Paints. I just like them. I like the color palette. I just have fun with them. The names are fun. Like this is Candied Apple, and this is Salvage Patina, Pumice Stone. I just like them. They are expensive and they're a little watery, but I think they have a beautiful effect, and you can probably see it on my stone clock house. It doesn't do a really solid color. It's kind of variegated, and it's just the way I like it. If you don't like it, you know, obviously you don't have to use it, but I just wanted to explain why I like that. But there are other brands, Apple Barrel, I think there's Craft Smart, and then you can also use like a regular acrylic paint like this, because they're all acrylic paints, just sort of varying thickness and, you know, different colors. So I do that, and because I'm not a precise painter, I kind of, you know, my paintbrushes are like seriously beat up, but you know, it makes me happy. They work for what I need to do as a non-precision painter. And then other things for decorative. This is actually my favorite for, let me see if I put grit paste. It's grit paste for making stone. It is a texture paste that's got like probably a polymer in it that makes it kind of gritty, almost like sand, but it's very flexible. So if you have to bend around corners, it bends nicely. So it doesn't break and crack off. So I've used it on this, and I like how it takes paint as well. So this is Distress Grit Paste. Let me see. Every time I open it, even though it's got plastic on top, I end up getting it all over my, I think you can, wait, let me see if I can get you to see the texture. It's just got a little bit of texture in it. I love this stuff, but it is, relatively expensive, comes in little jars. So the other thing you can use is just regular, let me see, I think I brought a grit paste up here. Yeah, this is one I found at the hobby store. They called light molding paste, and let me see if you can see. It's much smoother. It's almost like buttercream icing, but you can mix it with sand if you want a little bit of grit. So that'll work well on the stone for our castles. And if you want to make a castle in the wintertime, this is the material I use. Snowtax. I love this stuff, but it is kind of thick and it goes on kind of in blobs, sort of blobs you can't control. So I like to mix it with, I think you can see that it's sort of creamier. I mix it with white paint and some glue, and then I can put it on the top of the house and it'll kind of drip down. I really love that effect. So, but Snowtex, but there are other brands. Can't think of the other one. There's another one that you can find. These can be hard to find around Christmas time, so if you want it for Christmas, I would order it ahead of time. But if you want a snowy castle, Snowtex is what I use. And then if you want to glitter your castle, I like really fine glitters. I like this Martha Stewart glitter. I don't think they make it anymore, but I think you can see it's a very, very, try to rotate it, a very fine glitter. But my real favorite is probably on the floor. I probably dropped it, but it is Rock Candy Glitter by Ranger, and they also have mica flakes. That is what they used to use kind of on some of um, the vintage putz houses, the vintage Japanese houses. So these are for decorative things, and you can even get sheets of the mica flakes and use them for windows. So, and I think those are the main materials. Oh, because let me explain one more thing about my cardboard that I use. This is recycled from the hospital where I used to work, and the secretaries always saved it for me. You know how you have to wear a band whenever you go to the hospital? Well, this protected the paper where they printed up your name for the wristbands, and it has a glossy side and a plain side. So in order for paint to adhere on the glossy side, I have to coat it with gesso. So I use a kind of a primer gesso so that paint will adhere. Otherwise, you just waste your paint. It just kind of smears on it. So, and I like to use the white side. So that's why I have white cardboard. And most people don't. I wouldn't buy white cardboard, but it's just what they recycle for me. And the secretaries and the unit secretaries have been saving it for me for years. So I have like a huge stack. So when you see me make something, it's often with this white coated cardboard, but it's really not any different. It's just got this one layer on it. And let me see, I'm going to ask my brother, are there any questions? No? Okay. Okay, I've got my computer back. I'm switching to me. I'm sitting down. So that's the introduction to the Make a Castle Challenge. And so what we'll do next is tomorrow we'll cut out this pattern. Um, I'll show you some tricks for cutting it out by hand because I know a lot of people don't have cutting machines, and I made little houses for like 3 years without a cutting machine, and I mean, I had a great time, but it did make my hands sore. And I've got some tips and tricks that I think will make it easier for. And there's even a design trick that makes it easier. So I'm going to kind of show you some hints about how to cut them out by hand that just make your job easier. Okay, I think that's it. And thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day, and just stay healthy. Okay, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.